In many ways, the problem of corruption is one of the oldest in political philosophy. Plato considers it obliquely in the Republic. He thought that good people would be naturally reluctant to take high office. They'd have to be forced. Why? Probably because every powerful position comes with rights and responsibilities. The worst people will see them principally in terms of rights they haven't presently got. And so they'll want them, and once they've got them, they'll try to augment their rights, often by co-opting their friends. By contrast, the best people will see the responsibilities first, and they'll be much less likely to apply. Perhaps they can be forced into place, as Plato thought, but then who'll do the forcing? Other people with power. And so we're in a vicious circle. The Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, isn't a book, but if you think one of the functions of books is to help us better understand the world we live in, the difference may be irrelevant. It's a 26-page document produced annually by a Berlin-based non-profit NGO called Transparency International, TI, founded in 1993 by former members of the World Bank. It attempts to quantify corruption on a country-by-country basis. It's free to download online, and it always includes an outline of its methodology. It needs to be said at the start that TI isn't squeaky clean. Its Wikipedia page lists a series of issues from a 2014 donation from Siemens, a company that was itself found guilty of corporate corruption 6 years earlier, to concerns about internal whistleblowing in 2015, to a subsection entitled 2017 to 21, reports of bullying, harassment, and abuse of power by board members and senior management, which speaks for itself. Does that matter? Certainly. Does it compromise the report? Arguably not, though of course that's for you to decide. In context, the Siemens donation, on the face of it, the issue most damaging to TI's reputation, was meant as a gesture of contrition for past wrongdoing. It wasn't given in secret, and there's no reason whatsoever to think it came with strings attached. The Corruption Perceptions Index scores 180 countries between 1 and 100, depending on how corrupt they are, where 1 is very corrupt. There are 195 countries in the world today, but 15 of those can't be assessed for lack of data. For the purposes of the report, corruption is defined mainly in terms of internal access to justice, judges who take bribes, police officers who take the law into their own hands, immunity from prosecution for high-ranking officials, government interference in the judicial process, arbitrary inequality in the eyes of the law, and so on. In 2023, the world's most corrupt country was Somalia, with a score of just 11. The least was Denmark, with 90. The UK scored 71, several points below Ireland, 77, Canada, 76, and Australia, 75, but 2 more than the USA. New Zealand did best of all the Anglophone countries with a score of 85. But worryingly, the UK had declined significantly since 2018. Even more worryingly, we're not alone. There's been a global decline in justice and the rule of law since 2016, the report says. Governments across the political spectrum have undermined justice systems. Only 28 of the 180 countries measured by this report have improved their corruption levels in the last 12 years, and 34 countries have significantly worsened. I often think that corruption is one of the least talked about issues in political theory. Lots of people have ideas about how they'll improve or even revolutionize society, replacing the present system with a new and better one. They rarely have anything to say about how they'll stop corruption creeping in. The 20th century is full of revolutions. Not one of them solved the problem of corruption. Many of them exacerbated it. And in the end, it destroyed most of them. I'm usually surprised by how well the UK does in the CPI. I subscribe to Private Eye magazine, and every fortnight I'm shocked by just how rotten this country is. Of course, Private Eye doesn't report the good news, so hopefully I'm seeing a partial picture. Even so, the thought that we're one of the world's least corrupt countries is disturbing. Meanwhile, it's worth asking what a completely corruption-free world would look like, or even a world in which every country scored above 80. It takes a while to think that question through, but the more you do, the more interesting it becomes. It's even more interesting to consider how we might get there.